Going into this tournament, an entire nation placed the weight of their soccer ambitions squarely on the Ecuadorian national team. Manager Sebastian Beccacheche had made a specific, very public promise to those fans. He vowed to deliver a hazaña, a historic feat, and lead Ecuador to its best World Cup run ever. But that dream shattered against the reality of a brutal 90 minutes. A 2-0 elimination loss ended the run before it ever truly began. The opposition arrived with intense preparation and tactical execution, dismantling Ecuador's ambitions piece by piece. The moment the final whistle blew, Beccacheche followed through on the consequences of that failure. He immediately resigned, citing that single broken promise as the reason he had to leave. He refused to take the easy way out. In his post-match press conference, he rejected the usual excuses, brushing off delayed flights, ignoring hostile crowd noise, and not blaming the referee. In the ruthless economy of elite football, results are the only currency that matters. When a manager makes a public guarantee and falls short, stepping away is the standard outcome, setting the stage for a complex exit. To understand why the project collapsed, we have to look at the objective reality of what happened on the pitch, starting with a difficult opening 45 minutes. This shows where the game slipped away. Mexico applied an aggressive press that overwhelmed the center, neutralizing Ecuador's midfield. Compounding the problem, the defensive line dropped too deep. Retreating toward their own penalty area invited continuous pressure they couldn't survive. The squad did show energy in the second half, fighting to push the ball forward and create chances. But a 2-goal deficit at this level of play is a nearly impossible trap to escape. Beyond the tactics, there was another gap in the manager's tenure. Throughout his time in charge, Beccacheche struggled to build a shared feeling of momentum or connection with the general Ecuadorian public. If evaluated purely by the scoreboard, the early elimination, and the public approval ratings, the entire project looks like a complete failure. But that scoreboard doesn't tell the whole story. Away from the cameras, Beccacheche was defending a different set of metrics, his internal process. Inside the walls of the locker room, he cultivated a culture of unity. The players were bound together by a shared identity that shielded them from the outside noise. The evidence of this cultural reset is in the roster. He brought 15 debutants to the biggest stage in global football, trusting untested talent to carry the national flag. Looking at this chart ranking World Cup teams by average age, the scale of his risk is obvious. Ecuador sits at the very bottom, fielding the youngest squad in the entire tournament. That unity culminated in the moments right after the loss. Instead of quietly packing their bags, the coach and his players spent 2 hours in a private farewell, speaking about what they had built together. It forces us to ask a difficult question. When a manager builds a resilient, unified group of young players who are ready to play for each other, does the final score capture his true impact? Beccacheche's exit forces a hard restart, clearing the path for the teenagers who filled his roster to finally take control of the team's direction. The loss to Mexico effectively ended the international careers of several veterans who have been the backbone of this squad for years. This includes Enner Valencia. As the nation's all-time leading scorer, he leaves a massive void in the attack, having shouldered the pressure of the Ecuadorian front line through 3 World Cup cycles. This departure hands the keys to a group of younger players, like Kendry Paez, who now have the room to lead the team they just inherited. Beccacheche's legacy goes beyond a trophy case. He established a culture of transparency and unity that his players spent hours discussing in the locker room long after the game ended. These players will enter the next qualification cycle with the resilience forged during this tournament's difficult moments. Beccacheche walked away to uphold his word, taking the burden of the scoreline with him. He leaves the youngest squad in the tournament behind, not with a title, but with the autonomy to grow from this defeat together.